Greetings, salutations, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're at, and whenever you're watching this. I'm Ryan, subspacetriathlon.com. Talk about IRONMAN Florida. We're talking about my experience and kind of how I would view the race overall and rate it and all that kind of good stuff. So with that, we're going to jump right into the video, talking IRONMAN Florida, talking my experience in 2021. Here I am, 2022, making this video, and I'm going to do it again for the fourth time. So must be decent if I keep going back for more. I don't know. Let's watch and find out. So basically, IRONMAN Florida has been Panama City Beach, Florida, since the inception of the race, and we'll see if it says how many years in a row that they have done this race. I want to say it was like 35 years or something like that. It was something crazy. Sold out right now as of 2022. Highlight video, all that kind of fun stuff. You want to go to their website, but I believe it's 35, 36, 37 years, something crazy. I mean, it's one of the longer standing events for Ironman. Panama City Beach, Florida, except in 2018, I believe, when a hurricane rolled through, or 2017, hurricane rolled through and wiped out Panama City Beach a little bit. Couldn't have the race. It got moved to Haines City, Florida. I did that one. Wasn't as nice as maybe as being out on the beach in the ocean. It was in a kind of a lake situation over at Haines City. Wasn't the end of the world. Still got out there, still got the race in. But at the time, it's out in Panama City Beach, which I highly recommend that area in general. Being from Kansas City, I like the beach area. So as far as location goes, it's very different than what we're used to in Kansas City, especially in November. But as we'll go through in 2021, it says the average air temperature is 66 degrees, which I believe because it was low 40s race morning. I was actually in my wetsuit, ready to go, full sleeve, and I was shivering on the beach. It was so cold. There was a breeze going on, and we were just all kind of freezing right before the race started, which, you know, when you're on the run, it works out really well. You overheat and stuff like that, and it got into the 60s probably. But on the bike, I wore arm warmers the entire time. It was a bit chilly. I was actually kind of surprised from my experiences in the past doing Panama City Beach. It had been a little bit warmer in the past. So that we're going to dive right into my experience. So starting out, I will show you my times, and you know, it was a little bit slower than what I typically had done this in the past, what I'm used to. I think the course is pretty much the same for 22 as it is for 2021. Let's dive right into the swim, shall we? You are in the bay, or in the Gulf, and what you're doing is you're swimming around. There's a pier that sticks out, so you're swimming around the pier. The interesting part was it was a little bit breezy, not super windy and super crazy. Anything to lead you believe it's going to be a wild day out in the swim course. There was no white caps. It was just nice rolling waves. When you actually swam out into the Gulf, it was actually pretty quick. I felt like I was doing pretty good. 114 minutes per mile. You know, I'm swimming along 116, 132. I mean, I'm cooking pretty good here, going out, and that's for both laps. 137. I was probably a little bit slower on the 120. You know, making some good time out there, and then hit the turnaround and you start going kind of northwest, and there's chop, there's wind. It felt like we were fighting a little bit of a current. I wouldn't call it a rip current because, I mean, we could overcome it, but holy cow, I mean, that I'd never experienced that before. I mean, Ironman Florida in 2017 was my fastest. I think about a 110 swim for an Ironman distance event, and this was my slowest swim. And you know, this is Ironman number, I believe, 9. So to go out there and have the best swim, the worst swim, and basically the same kind of weather conditions, it was just kind of weird. I don't know. This is the first time I've done it down at this pier, so it was a little bit different than where I'd done it in the past. They slid it down to Pier Park and everything like that about 2 years before, so it's a little bit odd just to come out here and like you're just down the beach, so it's not like you're a completely different spot in the bay, and it's just you go out there and it's just you're fighting the current, and then you're coming back in, and it wasn't as bad, but I had to face northwest because the current was pushing me back into the pier, so I was basically swimming diagonal of where I wanted to go, and it got me to the beach. So you can see a bit of a struggle. You know, I was swimming the opposite direction, basically letting the current kind of force me into the beach area, and then ran across and did the second loop. When I came across the first loop and I saw my time was about 45 minutes, I was shocked to say the least. My understanding, there was a lot of people didn't make the first loop swim cutoff and didn't make the swim cutoff in general. They got held up and couldn't go any further. That was a tough day, and that is not typical for my experience. It's kind of an outlier for the. I've done it 3 times, 2 times in the Gulf and 1 time in Haines City. My other time in the Gulf was not like that experience at all. The water was pretty smooth. Any direction you went in, it wasn't really windy, it wasn't really crazy. So that was just kind of different. So just buyer beware. It is the ocean. Anything can happen out there. It could be wild, crazy waves. It could be a nice day. If it's windy out there, you're going to get some white caps. And there's been other times they swam in 4 to 5 foot swales and waves. You just got to be ready for anything out there. You got to be prepared to take it on, because if you're not trained up in the swim and it is a tough day out there, you're not going to make the swim cut off and they're not going to let you go. So just be ready. It could be great or it could be tough. I wish I could just say, yeah, it's like this every time. I mean, it's not a lake swim, it's not an ocean, or it's not a bigger lake swim, bigger body of water or anything like that. It's not a river swim. It's the Gulf. It's the ocean, and the ocean does whatever it wants to do. So just be ready for that. So the bike ride. Let's see if we can pull up the course here. So this should be the same course as it's. I think there's a few little changes for 22. Sorry about the internet kind of hosing up here a little bit. I will say, for the most part, I mean, there are some little climbs in here, so just be aware that it is not totally. Let's see if my Garmin captured the right elevation change. We're reaching, go to max. We're on power 190. Nutrition, calories, power, cadence, dynamics, elevation. Total ascent, 1,500 feet. So it's not like super pancake flat. There are some sections where you're going to have to ride, especially this little out and back. It is going out. It's uphill in the wind for the most part. It wasn't super windy, but if there is wind, I mean, you're going to hit a headwind. It's pretty much open roads. There's some parts that are shaded and protected by trees, especially over here, kind of in the park areas. But on this road on 79, I mean, basically you're open to the elements. So it was tough hitting about mile. Where are we at here? About 4.5 hours into it. I would say it was about mile 70 where we turned north and just head up that road, and it seemed like there's a nice stiff 10 to 15 mile per hour constant wind, and you're going uphill, and it was just kind of mortally defeating struggle to bike up to the turnaround. Once you hit the turnaround, tailwind, it was gorgeous, man. You're flying back. I mean, I was 20 miles an hour. I think I got pretty fast, 24.8. But when you're going out, this is the coming back section. Yeah, 16, 16.8, 13.4. So just be ready. There are going to be sections, everybody wants to say, oh, it's flat and fast, you're going to set a PR, but you go out there, if there's any bit of wind, you're going to have a headwind at some point in time. The roads are in pretty good condition. Coming out, when we're first going out on the highway here, I want to say there's some chip seal cracks on the side of the road, so you have to be a little bit careful, and it's the rolling resistance, you paid it a little bit, you're going to slow down a little bit just because of that chip seal and kind of rolling through that. But once you got off that chip seal and regular pavement, I mean, there are sections that have been freshly paved. Those are kind of nice. There was some construction, so that was kind of a pain. But it is a little bit soul crushing when you come back into this last little turnaround. You have to go all the way over this little loop here, and you go underneath the bridge and back underneath the highway and over here, and you had to go over these little plastic barriers so you didn't sink in the mud, and then come back down the road here. And by that point, I was 17 miles an hour, 18, so I was doing okay, but at that point I was just kind of done, and you're going through kind of the little section of road with houses and stuff, and just beach houses, and some people are out there, but it's like not a lot of spectators, not a lot of energy. and you're just kind of like, you're just ready to be done. But overall, coming from Kansas City, we kind of have more rolling hill situations. So it's a little bit different as far as that goes. For this course, I mean, basically you're pedaling the entire time because it's flat. Or there's a little bit of uphill, a little bit of downhill, but there's not enough. It's not like a steep downhill where you can just tuck in and average over 20 miles an hour just sitting there on your bike and going downhill. I mean, you're going to have to pedal to keep your speed, especially if there's a little bit of a headwind. So just be ready for that. It's not just a cakewalk course like everybody wants to say. It's like, oh, well, it's flat. It's no problem. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, it's not totally flat. There's some climbs here, especially towards this little turnaround, that will test you a little bit. Then you get a little bit of a downhill, and it's not a problem. So just be aware of that. And that pause. Moving on to the run course. The run course will be pancake flat. So I think a total ascent 141 feet, which is probably entirely accurate. I mean, basically you're just running down the parkway and running back. I mean, there's no super secret here. It's just flat. Find your pace. Make sure you're hitting your hydration, your nutrition, and just running the course. For me personally, I think I've been probably undertrained for the bike ride, and it showed on the run. Just wasn't out there to set any kind of course records. I kind of stopped and slowed down and walked with a friend and talked for him for a little bit that was doing the race. And basically I was just out to finish the race and just feel okay at the finish line, not like super dead or anything like that. But it did take a little bit. My swim was probably 25, 30 minutes slower than it usually probably would be in conditions like this, which I think affected kind of my energy level for the bike ride. But luckily it was cool enough that it didn't totally impact me. It wasn't super hot or anything like that. So I think that helped me for the bike and for the run, to just not be totally drained when I went out there, and just be able to put up a good pace, focus on my nutrition, focus on my hydration, focus on managing any GI distress or stomach discomfort or anything like that. My shoes paid off. I was super comfortable the entire day. I was a little bit chilly on the bike. Like I said, I wore arm warmers. So it was overall, like I said, I'm coming back for year number 4 in IRONMAN Florida, especially Panama City Beach. It's nice because the area is a tourist destination, usually for spring break and stuff, but this time of year, it's pretty low-key. There's plenty of places to stay, plenty of condos, plenty of houses to Airbnbs, all that kind of fun stuff, plenty of hotels. The water's nice, the water's warm. The temperatures are getting a little bit cool, but, you know, doing a race, that's kind of what you want. You don't want to be super hot out there because you're going to work up enough energy and heat up enough that you're not going to want ambient air temperature in the 80s or 90s or something like that. So it's perfect for that. The airport is like an hour and a half away, 45 minutes. I don't remember. It's super close. You get there, you drive down to Panama City Beach. The race director, who's been there forever, it seems like, I thought they did a great job. The transition was managed well. The tents were managed well. The Ironman Village was managed well. I think the only kind of thing I would say is, before they used to have, and when they did Haines City, they had like a taco bar type of thing at the finish line, which is awesome. You know, you put rice and beans in there, and it was great. And maybe the pandemic situation, you know, it had pizza and they had some other offerings. It was just kind of the same typical kind of finish line things. I think everybody can complain about that type of stuff, but so maybe just a little bit different offering. You know, if they brought back the taco bar, that would be awesome. It was nice. You get like soft flour tortillas and fill them up with beans and rice, and oh my gosh, it was so good after a day of being out there eating goos and sports bars and stuff like that. But I will say, I mean, this race, when you drive into town, you know, you're not going to go everywhere and be like, oh yeah, you're here in town for the race or whatever. I mean, it's pretty much centralized to the park and what's going on. When you got Ironman athletes out there, you know, practice swimming and all that kind of stuff, you kind of know something's going on. But it's pretty low key. The area is low key. It's a nice, you know, you try to get a condo or a house or something like that around the beach so the kids can go out and play, they can stay busy. The condos are nice. They've got hot tubs, pools and stuff like that. The only drawback was a little bit chilly than we're used to, but you know, we're able to deal with that. We're in Florida, we're on the beach. It's in November. I mean, in Kansas City, we're getting kind of cold and chilly. So, from all other aspects, you know, I'm trying to think, you know, race management wise, volunteer wise, procedure wise, location wise, everything kind of fits the bill for Ironman Florida. people kind of think about it. It's like, well, I'll just go there because it's like flat and fast. I mean, we keep going back because obviously we like the beach, and like I said, it's been a great event. It's been great, well organized, and when they had the hurricane and they pivoted, they moved the whole operation to Haines City, Florida, I think within 2 weeks, and hosted a full Ironman event, and pretty much went off without hitch. I think they're doing something right, and the area, the tourism, they're partnered with Visit Panama City Beach, so they have good connections with restaurants. You got your meal vouchers. You go out and eat where in certain restaurants that partner with the event, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a good event. I like doing it. I like going back and doing it. It's a good family destination too, especially if you guys like the beach, like my family does. But don't be fooled. I PR'd Ironman Chattanooga at 11:48 for a total time, but this swim, it didn't kick my ass, but I was pretty tired by the end, and luckily I'm I'm not fast, but I'm a strong and good endurance-wise swimmer. So I was able to get through that, and then the bike ride, I wasn't as trained up as probably I needed to be an aero for the extended periods of time, because you're just going to be pedaling the entire time. So you just need to be an aero and need to pedal. And then for the run, I mean, since it's pretty flat, I mean, all you need to do is just make sure you manage your hydration and nutrition to make sure you can kind of get through that side of things, because the course is not going to be necessarily as challenging because it's flat. I mean, it's right along a road. There's very few turns, and there's plenty of aid stations and plenty of ways to get help. So I want to wrap it up. I know I talked a lot. If you got any questions, put them in the comments. I'll get notifications. I'll update them. If this helped you out, give the Facebook post a like. Give YouTube a like and subscribe. Put a comment if you think I should have added something, if I forgot something, if you think it's super awesome and I should have been more thrilled and ecstatic about it. Whatever you got, put them in there, put them in the comments, and I'll get back to you, and hopefully this video helps you out. So with that, I'm going to close out this video. Keep watching. We'll give you future tips. Good luck out there. I'll see you on race day.